Busy times in our life can be so exciting, and they can trigger us and bring up a lot of things that maybe we don't want to look at when we're really busy. So, how do we deal with this stuff when we're in the midst of it? I'm going to share with you some of my favorite things to help us have a little more grace on ourselves. Hi, welcome to the Connect with Sheila podcast. I'm an entrepreneur, self-care strategist, and creator of the Seasons self-care app. I'm committed to helping you reconnect to your purpose, elevate your well-being, and build your version of a happy, successful life. You're listening to a Monday minisode where I share an insight designed to help you live into what lights you up this week. Wow. Times in my life have been kind of busy. I've had some things happening in the background. You're going to be seeing the fruits of that actually as you listen to this episode. Some various things going on in the world that we're all handling and dealing with. And one of those things that comes up as times get busy is I find that as much space as I try to give to do everything, it seems like that's when some of life's greatest roadblocks kind of come up, and things that you hadn't even thought of that could happen kind of happen. And you can they're just little things, like nothing out of the ordinary too much, but things that make you really start to think, wow, really? Now, when everything else is happening? So I sometimes wonder if I attract those things, but I will say that it has been very interesting to see what it triggers in me. And usually what gets triggered are things from the past. I was having a conversation about this actually with someone recently, and they were experiencing the same thing because they were doing some international travel. It feels like it's the season. And with all of that, it was like just this idea of, wow, I wonder why this happens. So I've started to do a few things to really help me kind of move through that time, not just cope, but actually thrive. I use the word cope in the title because I feel like that's what people think is possible. They don't really believe that you can thrive through busy times, but I believe it is possible to thrive when we're really aware of where we're at and what we're up to in our world, in our heart, in our soul, and when we're conscious of what we're doing and of these triggers. So just a couple quick things that I do. One of them is when I find myself running up against like something that is going to happen that's like, what? Why is this happening now? First of all, I like to preemptively get ready for that by knowing that, hey, I'm going into a busy time. I'm going to create a lot of space. And I know that this is when some things tend to come up because I have high expectations. So not only do I try and create space now, but I also create the awareness that things are going to happen. So I really get myself into that surrender energy before I even move into that space of busyness, so that I have my expectations. And then I also know that life happens. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when those things inadvertently happen, what I tend to do now is I get myself outside. I get myself under a tree or onto some grass, or if it's the winter, like still on the snow, on the grass, wherever I need to be in the fresh air. And I just take a few breaths if I'm able to. If I'm not able to get outside, it is just like go straight to the breathing and start to really focus on what am I grateful for right in this moment, that this busy thing is happening because, well, I'm really fortunate to have all these busy things happening for me. Life's not boring. I'm in demand, or I have these opportunities, and like this is a good thing. So I start to focus on that, and I really start with my body though, by breathing and tuning in and just calming myself. The third thing that I do is I really take a closer look at everything that I have scheduled and everything that I have expected. And then I actually make steps to alter things that in a way that then makes my life feel a little bit more spacious, so that I have the time to do all of the extra things without feeling stressed. And it's amazing when you really break it down. You can have this big, long to-do list, but then you realize, actually, this isn't really that urgent. I can move it to this other date. I can reschedule this. I can actually break up these things into two things. These other things I can merge, and it's actually going to take me less time. And hey, I'm going to ask for help in this area. And you know what? That has been so powerful. Instead of just trying to soldier through, push through, do everything that has been on the list as I wrote it when I was not in the midst of the busy time to begin with. It's called really being tuned in and really being able to be flexible. Because you know what? In the end, once you come through that time, you start to look back and realize, oh, I really didn't need to be so stressed. I didn't really need to do all of those things, right? Go back to the essentials. You have more than enough time. and you have more than enough energy, and there's more than enough money, and you are resourceful. These are things I want you to say to yourself, because that's what I say to myself during the busy seasons. I hope that you take something from that, and I hope you practice it in your own life. And I love that you're listening to these episodes. Please keep sharing them. Please keep putting reviews on the podcast. If you haven't already, maybe you've been listening to it a while and you haven't thought of putting a review up. It really does help get the word out for the podcast, because we can have a lot of listeners, and then there's so many other things going on in the world, like distractions and things like that. So sometimes it just takes one little review and it really bumps things up. So I really appreciate it. And I hope you love all the new branding. I hope you love the new website. Go to sheilabatello.com and also go to the podcast section there at my website. You'll see some beautiful featured guests that I've had on. There's so many. I was only able to feature a few right at this point. Please go check them out, because it's just been so valuable having them here and sharing their story, because they help us all elevate in beautiful ways. So thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week. Big blessings.